All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. Everyone is back. Russell is back from his vacation. Valerie is back from teaching in school. She was doing a writing camp. And we have our lovely author guest today is Dave. So you guys, we're going to dive into our weekends. But today I'm going to let Russell go first before I tell you about mine. So Russell, get us caught up on your adventure that you went on.
Okay,
The adventure
this
of a
is
lifetime.
the only time I've ever started first. I gave low energy and ruined the show. The great thing about Dave, the great thing about Aimee is she's high energy. Starts the show great, so she just stabbed me in the chest to make sure that the responsibility was on me. So I've got to pump up my energy and push down my sarcasm. Okay, so. I just spent a lot of time in Athens and the Greek Mediterranean and Italy, and I have a million stories. But the two I have today, put up the first picture.
Okay.
So we're in Kuşadası, Turkey, and this lady walks up to me and walks up almost nose to nose and said, "You have beautiful evil eyes." I was like, "Whoa!" And my wife, who is this is the evil eye of Turkey,
Okay.
and notice it's blue. And my wife, who is such the supporter, said, "Yes, some myths are true," is what she said. And it's the way she explained it. She said, "Blue eyes are evil eyes because in Turkey, no one has blue eyes." And so that's the first story. The second story, go to the second story, is here. And we did the Greek islands and we did Italy. And I got to tell you, the biggest comedy for the whole trip was Instagrammers. Okay, there are thousands of Instagrammers. They're all young women. They show up at these islands when it's 100 degrees in August and they're dressed to the hilt and they have all their makeup on. And they have boyfriends or husbands with heavy photography equipment and they follow them around all day to these kind of scenes and they line up. Oh my gosh, there was one cathedral in Rome that we went to, and there was this line out the door, and it was Instagram women waiting in line to take their picture in front of this mirror.
Yeah.
You just walk around them, you go into the cathedral, but they wanted to take their picture for this mirror, and there was restaurants in Rome and all over. If it's a famous Instagram place, they line up for hundreds of feet for their turn in the heat in all of their clothes to take pictures. It was insane, and it got to be a game we played. It's unbelievable. I'll have more stories in the future.
Have you never experienced those?
I've never seen it like this. I've never seen young women, and I'm talking about younger than 40, okay? Younger than 40, so their 30s or 20s. And I mean, here's another thing. I didn't know this. I've seen it, a few pictures of it in fashion. So see-through dresses are a thing now. That's the thing.
We're back to like 80s and 70s style.
No, I mean way more see-through than anything in the 80s and 70s.
Okay.
I got to tell you, this old man was rather shocked because in the European Mediterranean right now, in the summer, that's especially all these Instagram women, right? But they're wearing see-through dresses. That's what they wear. I was shocked. Not in a bad way.
You know what, though? They got the confidence to rock it, Russell. They got the confidence, okay?
Yeah, well, some of them need to get a little less confident, but that's another story.
Oh, my goodness, Russell. No.
So, I feel you
because, yeah, when we went to Punta Cana in January and we were on one of those excursions. I was like, am I having a photo shoot with like 15 models? They were all, the boyfriends were taking the pictures. Everybody was posing. I was like, is anybody here for the vacation? I mean, yes, it's beautiful, but oh my gosh, just take a moment. But yeah, the boyfriends were the photo slaves.
Oh man.
Hmm.
I don't know. I went
Yeah.
to what was it? I had gone to an influencer, a group, not a conference, but I did go to an influencer private event that all these influencers in my local town were at, right? And it was god awful. I'm not even going to lie to you. We had to do so many like action shots before we could eat our food. And I love food, Dave. Like I don't want to wait to take a photo and make sure we all look, picturesque. I want to eat my food.
Right.
Like that's just my thing. So it was that, and then we all had to walk and act like we were laughing. You can ask Russell, I don't have a poker face. So my face in those was just like, this is ridiculous. So I understand, and I have been a part of that, and it's awful. Unless you like that kind of environment, right? But that's what we live in today. That's society we live in today. So it's just an adjustment.
I must admit, I did torture some of the Instagrammers too by pretending to be the unaware old man.
I love it.
Do you know how funny that was? Do
Awesome.
you know
Awesome.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
I do.
And
Absolutely.
that's one of the very few really great benefits of being an old man is everyone assumes if you act like that you're not acting, you're really that unaware old man. So I could wander into photography shots. Oh, you'd think that I had stabbed him in the chest. It was so great.
Oh, Russell. Oh my gosh. I love that though, because I can picture you doing this. And because I know you, I would just be dying laughing at you. Like it's epic. I love it. Well, you guys, last week Meadow started her first day of kindergarten on Wednesday. Okay. And so let me tell you how her first day went, because it's going to sum up pretty much my entire week and weekend. So she's like me, where we use music and stuff to kind of pump ourselves up. If we're in a bad mood, we're not quite awake, we use like really loud poppy or rock music to kind of get us in a really good bubbly mood, right? So I had it set up. We were all up, ready to go. 7:15, we were there, right? We were there, I don't know, by like 7:20. It's like 8 minutes from my house. We take her, we go to drop her off. I'm going to tell her goodbye. It's the only day I got to walk her in, right? She was fine. I walk out the door, right? And I'm over here like I held it together. I'm not the overly sensitive mom that just started crying, all these things, right? I was like, I held it together. It was great because I am an ugly crier, like an ugly Kim Kardashian cry. I'm an ugly crier. And okay, so I'm leaving, and all of a sudden I hear, Mommy, wait, no, don't go. I lost it. Okay. My ugly Kim Kardashian cry came out. I'm not even going to lie. It came out and my nose was running. I had lost it. All these other moms were just like, laters, their kids were fine. Meadow was losing it. 30 minutes later, I am the last parent to leave. They had to bring in another teacher to help calm her down. And we left.
Calm her or you? I'm just saying.
I was fine.
I might even be judging a little bit.
And then, no, don't judge me. And then we were walking out, and you could still hear her down the end of the hall. Okay. I mean, she was just thoroughly losing it. And I don't know why. She was in a perfectly good mood. So I go to pick her up, and then nothing happened. Totally fine. I drop her off on Friday, and I pick her up on Friday because she had been doing really good. And she's like, okay, that's enough. I've had enough. I gave you your 3 days. I'm not going back. I'm done. I've had enough. I'm good. I have one friend. I don't need more. Let's just take me out. We're done. We're good. I'm like, well, no, we have to go back on Monday. So this is her first full week. So we will see how it goes. Sky offered to take her spot. Sky was like, I'll come here and play. Like, you can go home, whatever. So Sky's totally fine. Yeah, Sky's fine. Living life. Yeah. So we'll see how this week goes. Okay, the carpool line is seriously competitive. And I'm a competitive person. Okay. Not at like games, but in these kinds of things, just in life, I'm competitive.
You must remember what Marcus Aurelius said, be neither green nor blue. That means don't be competitive on things that are irrelevant.
Well,
So that's irrelevant. So you need to just
Mm.
laugh at them and not be competitive.
no,
Also, you can torture. Torture is fun, like I did the Instagrammers.
well,
You could be
yeah.
the clueless mother. See, that's what you could be. The clueless mother and
Yeah.
torture. It would be,
I mean, I
remember
feel like I'm
Marcus
naturally,
Aurelius.
I'm naturally the cool, like, clueless
Clueless,
mother
not
anyway.
cool.
I am cool, but I am the clueless one too. Like I can play that card and I have no problem playing that card. But no, I'm not first in line. I'm not saying I'm there at noon. I am there by 2:15 with a, fresh Starbucks. And I got Wi-Fi in my car. So I'm just sitting there chilling until 3:05. And then it's game time. Like then it's game time. I want to get in, get my kid, get out. I don't want to wait because the line, there's two lines, right? It splits and then it merges into one, right? From both directions, but it goes all the way like through the light. Okay. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to be in that. I'm not a very patient person, you guys, and my attention span is not fully there to be a very patient person. So, it's a big learning adjustment, learning, fun. So, out of all of the 5-year-olds in my family that started kindergarten, Meadow was the most dramatic. And I know she gets that from Josh. It's definitely not me. Okay. I'm not dramatic at all.
Yeah, definitely not you.
No, it's her dad for sure. For sure. So we'll see what this week brings. But that was my encompassment of my like week and weekend together.
Yikes.
I know. Yes.
Yikes.
Exactly. Yes, Dave. Exactly. So what did everybody else do? We heard about Russell and his fabulous vacation that we're all jealous of, but we live vicariously through Russell on this show anyways. So Valerie, Dave, what did you guys do this weekend?
I really was reasonably busy and celebrated a birthday.
Nice.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of going out to eat and visiting with folks, and that was nice.
Nice. Birthdays are good. My youngest's birthday is this Sunday, so that will be wrapping up my birthday season. So I love birthdays.
Awesome.
So fun. Valerie, what did you do?
Oh, I crammed it, jam-packed it. We went to the Astros game Friday. The team that's been winning every game, and then the one game I go to, they lose. So I was like, but and that stadium was hot and packed, and we were having a great time. Great time. Saturday we went to Centerville, still packing my mom's house, still getting her ready to move. Oh, whew. Just a little bit more, almost there. And then yesterday we celebrated my daughter's birthday, so that was great. And that was the end of our birthday season too, Aimee. So we had 4 birthdays in a row.
Oh, girl, yes. I'm telling you, we got June 30th, July 6th, July 8th, and August 25th up in my house. So I feel you. Okay, I feel you.
Yes.
I'm excited
So,
about
it. It's like you're doing Christmas all in the middle of the year.
Exactly, Russell.
Yes, we need to thank the people listening to us on our podcast. We're top 10 independent book podcast in America, and we want to thank those that listen to us.
Very nice.
Most people don't listen to us when we're live in the morning. They listen to our podcast during the week, when they're driving to work and we're actually, it's 45-minute podcast, should be exactly 45 minutes because that's the average workout that someone does. And so if you're listening to it to work out, that's your average workout. We're on all the channels. Aimee, where can they find us?
Yes, you guys remember, Russell can now find us, and that says that anybody can find us, okay? It's definitely anybody can find us 100%.
Dave, that's not a shot. That's the truth.
It's the truth. So if you go on anywhere, you can go to Amazon, Spotify, Good Pods, Apple, Google Play. I'm sure that there are other ones. I know that there are other ones that I'm not mentioning. Amazon, I think, if I didn't mention that one. Those are just all the ones that I go to listen to. Type in Author Talk, look for the crimson, red, and gold, because one, I'm selfish and Dina created it and those are my favorite colors, but two, it pops and Russell can find us. So make sure that you go and do that. All of our episodes from the 8 years that we have been doing this every single Monday are up on there, or you can go to our YouTube channel if you want to watch us. Russell likes to say, I don't have a poker face, so I control what comes out of my mouth, but my facial expressions and my hand movements give me away, according to Russell. So if you want to come and have a laugh and laugh with us or at us, generally I'm laughing at and with myself all the time. So feel free to come on over, ask questions, and engage with us. You're more than welcome to do that over on our YouTube channel, any one of our social media platforms, you're welcome to do. But without further ado, Valerie, let's give Dave talking about his award-winning author and writer and all the fabulousness that he has done. Take it away.
What an incredible career. Can you just give us some little backstory about where you've been and what you've been doing to get to this point?
Sure, I'm happy to. I spent a little over 32 years working at Walt Disney Animation Studios in Los Angeles, in Burbank, and worked on a lot of films that some of your listeners may be aware of, like The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, Fantasia 2000, the list goes on and on and on. I started writing towards the end of my career at Disney, and just like a lot of my books, it was very serendipitous. Somebody suggested, because I had been friends with Roy E. Disney, who was Walt Disney's nephew, and was vice chairman of the company, and I got to be friends with him and traveled with him, and went out to dinner many times with him, and so on and so forth. After he passed away, a friend of mine suggested that I write, sort of put all those stories together in a book. And that was really my first book. It was called Remembering Roy E. Disney. And that just started me on this path of writing. And when I turned that manuscript in, I pitched another story, another book idea. And the folks at Disney Publishing said, yeah, we'd love to do that book. And it just sort of snowballed from there. And the book that's coming out on September 10th, Find Your Happy Place, the 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat, is my 13th book, which is just unbelievable, So if you had asked me 20 years ago, would I be writing? I would have said, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. But it was never really, I never saw it in the cards. But, opportunities present themselves to you, and you just sort of go along with it. And that's what a lot of my books have been like that, which has just been crazy. So. I can't hear anybody. Everybody's on mute.
Muted.
Yeah, Valerie, you're muted.
Valerie, talk.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, was it that first book that just kind of prompted your love for writing, or just did you always have it in you to be an author, or how did that evolve?
Yeah,
just besides knowing Roy Disney.
Yeah, prior to actually writing that book, which was my first book, for years I was writing commentaries for the local newspaper on just community issues. And there'd be something going on, and I'd write an opinion piece about it, or I'd put a spotlight on something that was going on in the community that our elected officials should be dealing with and weren't. And so, I was doing that for years, and I think I started to develop my voice. And I will say, after I finished that first book and then pitched the idea for the second book, I actually enrolled at the UCLA writers program here in Los Angeles, and I wound up doing the writers program for creative nonfiction and fiction over about a 3.5, 4-year period. And I was taking those classes at night while I was working during the day, which, if you're familiar with Los Angeles, I was working at the studio in Burbank. And so I'd leave late afternoon and have to drive to the west side of Los Angeles with the traffic is murder. And then, go into a classroom at 7 p.m. and get out at 10 and drive home and, get up the next morning and do it all over again. So, but it was worth it to me because I really wanted to improve. I wanted to improve my writing. I wanted to learn the ins and outs of telling a story better. And that's what I got out of it. And I've just been going from one book project to the next.
And I was looking over all your titles, and they're very diverse. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference in all your books, please?
Yeah, a lot of them have a connection, obviously, to Disney. It's write what you know, and that's what I know. So that second book that I had pitched was on Walt Disney and Salvador Dali. It was called Dolly and Disney, Destino, and it was about a short film that Salvador Dali and Walt Disney collaborated on in 1946. And I actually had the pleasure of being part of a team in 2003 that completed the film. So, 40 some odd years after they started it, I was part of a group that finished it, and Roy E. Disney was the executive producer. And he was very much focused on wanting to preserve the family history, the legacy of the studio. And that was one project that hadn't been completed, but had all the storyboards were done on it. The music was in place, and it was really a matter of just doing the animation to complete it. And so I was able to pitch the idea of selling, not selling, but telling that story from the time that Walt and Salvador Dali met, became friends, and developed this project, and why the project was shelved. And then it was picked up, so many decades later to be finished. And I put that story together. So that was one book. And then
I'm going to read that book.
Yeah,
I'm going to read that book. I'm getting that book today.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's Dolly and Disney, Destino. It's available wherever you get your books. And by the way, when I was writing that book, I wanted people to see that short film because it was nominated for an Academy Award. And so I actually got with a person who was an expert on video displays at the Imagineering division, the group that designs the parks. And I put a prototype together of a book with a video player in it that you could open the cover, press a button, and play the movie. And they wound up making that. It was a very limited print run. It was 2,500 books, but it sold out, or close to sold out. And so I was very proud of that. And then from there, I just went. I wrote a book on Oswald the Lucky Rabbit: The Search for the Lost Disney Cartoons, which Oswald the Lucky Rabbit was really Walt Disney's first big success, and it predates Mickey Mouse, but he didn't own the character. And he wound up losing the contract to making more of those. And, so I did that book, and I did a book on the Kem Weber animation furniture. And again, some of these were just very serendipitous. There you go. You got an Oswald. Look at that. Yeah. It's a great character. And, yeah. You know, I did a book on Kem Weber, the mid-century furniture designs for the Disney studios. And that was all about the specialty animation furniture that Kem Weber designed for the studio back in the late 30s. And so, you know, I've gone from one topic to the next. Last year, I had 2 books published. One was The House of the Future, Walt Disney, MIT, and Monsanto. It was Monsanto's Vision of Tomorrow. And that's all about the House of the Future that was at Disneyland for 10 years, from 1957 to 1967. And again, I chose that topic because I was super fascinated by that house. I never had the opportunity to walk through it when it was at Disneyland. It was long gone before I visited Disneyland. And so I basically put together a deep dive and identified a lot of the furniture pieces that were done by important furniture designers that were in that house. And I also had written a book on Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas visual companion, which came out last year as well. And that's all about the making of Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. So it's kind of eclectic, but it's also in the realm of entertainment. And I've really enjoyed working on those projects. They're all nonfiction, by the way. All of my books are nonfiction books. I have some fiction projects that I'd like to do, and I'll probably get to at some point, that are sort of bones right now of stories, but most of the projects are nonfiction. And this new book is a little bit different because this is kind of a self-help book, and it's a book that I hadn't planned on writing, but I've had a number of people ask me to write, including one of my UCLA writing instructors who's become a friend of mine. You know, he was very curious about these personal retreats, which I take every year. And by the way, I'm going on my annual retreat in a couple of weeks up to Maine. And I go on these by myself, and I've been doing them for I want to say it's well, it's over 30 years, but it's 31, 32 years that I've been doing it. And I literally go off by myself and unplug. No electronics, nothing. I've got a little college ruled notebook like this with me. I write longhand, and I'm in my thoughts.
So you would heartily recommend a writer's retreat just in general for people
well,
who are looking
something, this particular book is what I do. And I think anyone can adapt this to their own, situation and get a lot out of it if they want to. But I've been doing this every single year. And one of the things I talk about in the book is that I was on a retreat, I don't know how many years ago. It's got to be a decade ago. And it was after I had published my first book. It was after I submitted the proposal for my second book and it was accepted. I was on a retreat and I sat at a picnic table on the coast of Maine in the middle of no place. There was nobody around. I had a notebook like this, and I wrote out a list of books I'd like to write. And I was just sort of like blue skying it. It was just sort of whatever came to mind, I wrote it down. I came up with sort of a loose title of what the book would be, and wrote a sentence or two of what I thought the book would be about. And believe it or not, I've crossed off a lot of those books already. They've been published. And I keep adding to that list every year with ideas that percolate up, and that would be a great topic. And I just jot down, my thoughts on it. And for me, I always have multiple projects going on. So I have I'm doing research in the afternoon on one thing, and in the mornings I'm writing on something else. So it
So,
it it
so did
really
this
keeps me busy.
experience? Yeah. So did this experience lead to your new book? It sounds a little bit like maybe that journey of a writing retreat gave you that mindset to create, the happy place.
Well, I would say yes, but again, I never planned on writing this book. In fact, I was very, somewhat. I don't want to say secretive, but I was a bit. I kept it close. I kept the cards close to my chest on the retreat I did every year. I didn't really talk about it. Over the years, people got to know that I was going off by myself. For a week or two up to Maine. And some people would ask about it. And if people asked me about it, I would talk about it, but I didn't openly, sort of spout that, oh, I'm going on my personal retreat again this year, that kind of a thing. And again, this writing teacher from the UCLA writers program, he had asked me about it, and I told him about it over a lunch one day, and he said, man, he goes, you ought to write this down. This is a great book. I think this would help people, blah blah blah. And I smiled, and I was polite about it, and I was, yeah, maybe I'll do that, I don't know. And then the pandemic hit, and we were all locked down, and so the first draft of this book I wrote in 2020, because I was, we couldn't really go out much. There wasn't, you couldn't travel, you couldn't do much. Everything was shut down for so long. And so I just came into my office every day, and I wrote, and this was one of the things I wrote. I decided I would write a draft on this. And as we all know, as writers, writing is about rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And so the first draft was in 2020, and here we are, 2024. The book is finally coming out. So it's gone through a lot of iterations.
Yes. Me and Russell can totally relate. And I know that for sure. How about, how do you feel about getting this produced though? However.
I feel very good about it. I think I was a little bit nervous initially, because I am opening up a little bit more about myself, as opposed to writing about a topic. Like last year's House of the Future book. I tried to not leave any stones unturned when I told that story. But this is a little bit different, because this is almost a little on the memoirish side. Or I should say, there's memoir elements in here that I talk about my personal life and things that I do, or have happened to me, or whatever. So that was stepping out of my comfort zone, which ultimately I'm okay with. But again, when you step out of your comfort zone, you're a little nervous.
Yes, no, absolutely. Valerie, you're still muted. But when you write outside of your comfort zone, right? And on this call, I'm the one, Dave, I'm not the writer. I just market y'all and live through y'all by reading your books, right?
Awesome. We
That's
love
what
that.
I do. Yeah, that's what I do. But I feel like, and I'm sure Russell and them will have feedback on it too. But when you step outside your comfort zone, when you're writing, and it's something that's, to me, it has to be the most scariest part of writing, when you open yourself up to doing that. Because one, it's outside of your norm and comfortability and what your readers are probably used to seeing from you, right? And so you're really taking that like huge leap of faith. Like, I'm really going to write about this. It's different. And I don't have the balls to do that. So kudos to you, because I don't have that. So kudos to you, because I feel like that's quite difficult to do. You really have to love that topic to write about it. Russell,
I have a couple of questions. First, who would benefit from reading this? Not just writers, but who do you envision would benefit
Yeah.
from reading this?
Well, you know something, I didn't write this for writers. I wrote this as a way for people to go off by themselves for a set amount of time, whether that's a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever that amount of time is that works for them. And regardless of what their situation is, you know, maybe they're at a point in their life where they're going to do a career change. Maybe they're just starting out, they're in college, and they want to get some sort of a boost or guidance to where it is they want to go and how to get there. You know, there's people who are gonna you know, I hate to use the word retire, but there's people who are going to transition to a new chapter of their life, and this I think would be beneficial to them. You find that funny, Russell, huh?
Yes, that you would hate to use the word retire. I
I
hate it. It's an anathema to me.
yeah,
I haven't retired. I've just moved from practicing law to writing and doing 2 or 3 other things. So
yeah.
that's why I laugh about it.
Well, and I kind of look at it that way too, because I've don't ever envision myself retiring. I just envision myself, you know, moving from one thing to the next thing. And for me, I spent, you know, more than 3 decades at Disney, and now I've moved into writing, and I've been writing full time now for 8 years.
Okay,
Uh,
I'm dying to ask a question. I've
yeah,
got to ask you this. I've got to interrupt because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. Okay, you worked at a large corporation
yes,
for 30 plus years.
yeah,
You said you've been doing this for 30 plus years. Now, you know, and I know, and many of the people that are listening know the social structure of large corporate employment. How did you manage to do this for 30 years? And what suggestions would you give to people that want to do this on how to handle the system so they can do it without causing a problem to their employment?
right. Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, for me, you know, not every company is structured to allow people to work there for decades. You know, I think that idea is disappearing. I think, you know, Russell, when our parents were in the workforce, it was a different world, and people could work at a company for 25, 30, 40 years and then retire. I think we're in a much different situation today. But for me, my I mean, I guess my survival within the system, because I went through, I think, 5 different management teams, you know, in the division that I was in, and that's not counting the overall management changes that happened at the top of the company. But for me, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I was just starting out at the studio, and I talked to an artist who had been working there for 45 years. And I said to him, I said, John, what's your secret to the longevity at this company? And he paused for a second, and he smiled, and he looked at me. He says, I always said yes. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He says, well, if somebody came into my office and said, John, can you do XYZ? And he says, I'd always look up with a smile and I'd say, yes, I could do that. And he says, as soon as those people left my office, I'd go, holy crap, I got to go figure out how to do that, you know? And that was the best piece of advice he had ever given, or I had ever gotten that early in my career. So going forward, when somebody asked if I would be willing to do something or if I could do something, I always said yes, in a very confident, cheerful way. And then when they left, I'd go, okay, now I got to go figure out how to do that. And I'd go find the right people, and I'd, you know, do the research, and I'd ask, and ultimately would get it done. And I had the most fun doing stuff like that because at Disney, there was always that opportunity to experiment and to try something new, to invent something different. I have 2 patents to my name from Disney, US patents, because of things that concepts I came up with and said, well, what if we were to do this? And we hadn't done that before. And how can you do it? And so I'm always a person that thinks in terms of how can you do something, not you can't do something. And I think that's probably one of the greatest strengths that I've taken away from the company, because we all know in our world, when you talk to people, folks will say things like, I can't do that. Or, if you ask somebody if they could do something, they shy away from it. They don't want to do it. And I've always been one. I guess what I'm saying is I think a lot of people come up with excuses as to why things can't be done. And I think in terms of how can we do it? And that's where I put my energies, so, and I attribute, a lot of the success in my writing to just doing it. I know, and Russell, and Valerie, you guys are writers, I'm sure a lot of writers who have been working on books for 8 or 10 or 12 years, or they've been working on a manuscript that's never been published. And I know people like that. And I just sit there, a lot of times those folks don't want to even put it out to beta readers. But I write a book, and after I've written it and I've rewritten it and rewritten it again, I put it out, and it's the scariest part. You reach out to people that are experts or knowledgeable in the area that you've been writing, and you say, hey, would you do me a favor and read this and give me your feedback? A lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people don't want feedback. They don't want to take that moment to say, I've written this, would you read it? Because they're scared. They're scared of failure. They're scared of getting bad feedback. I mean, any number of things. And we've all talked to folks like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. All the events, even I've been, markets or this or that presentations, and they're like, so many people was like, I have a book I wanted to write, but I never did it. Or I have a book and I've never shared it with anyone. I was like, well, why not? Why not? Just do it. Like you said, just do it. Just, what have you got to lose? Besides your time or whatever, but just try.
Yes. Seinfeld did an episode on that.
Yeah.
On the joke about people saying they have a book in them. Seinfeld actually did an episode on that. It was very funny.
Yeah, and I talk about that in my book, Find Your Happy Place, where oftentimes you hear people say, someday I'm going to, or I wish I could, or I might do that. And when you hear those kinds of statements, they're never going to do it.
Right, do it.
I tell people, there is no someday in the week. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There is no someday. And it's just you're either going to go do it or you're not going to do it. And so when I write those lists out of books, when I wrote that list, 8 or 10 years ago, wrote that list down of book titles that I would like to do. I went and did them. And I figured out how to do it and get them published, so. And all I would say to people is that the book I've written, Find Your Happy Place, lays out a roadmap for people to really achieve some of those goals if they choose to do it, and it's really up to each individual. We have the power within ourselves to do whatever it is we want to do. And we also have the voices in our heads telling us not to do those things, so you have to take charge of your own life and determine whether you want to change the path you're on, choose to do something that you've been thinking about doing, but you've been scared to do, and figuring out how to do that in a logical step-by-step fashion. And that's what I put into this book, because basically it's worked for me for more than 30 years. And it's, you know, again, that moment where you can take a little time for yourself once a year to just be in your own head without any external influences, affecting you in any way. You could just be by yourself in your head and determine what it is you want to do for the coming year, and think about what you did over the past year.
So where can we find your book? Because I feel like this is such a great Monday discussion of positivity and moving forward. And it's not even the new year, but it's the middle of the year, and we always need to be moving forward in a positive direction and take your ideas and embrace them. So where can we get your book?
So the book is available. It releases on September 10th. You can get an author signed copy now if you want to at theoldmillpress.com. It's theoldmillpress.com. And as of September 10th, the book will be available in a print edition, in a ebook, and an audiobook, which I narrate. And all three of those versions of the book will be available on September 10th, wherever you get your books. You know, whether it's Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I always tell people, if you have an independent bookstore nearby, they can order the book. Just go in and tell them tell them the title. They'll look it up, and they can have it within a couple of days. So support your local independent bookstores.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we're out of time, Aimee.
I know. Russell's already eyeing me, Dave. Russell, if you haven't caught on, Dave, Russell is our time Nazi. He's very time oriented. The rest of us are kind of, fly by the seat of our pants kind of people.
Yeah.
But no, Dave, I want to thank you so much for coming on and hanging out. Look, Brian Bearden joined us. I love Brian Bearden. I haven't seen you in forever. But I want to thank you, Dave, so much for taking time out of your day to come and hang out and talk to us and just have a casual coffee shop conversation. And I think mindset and positivity, right? Mindset is a big, for me, factor in determining what outcomes you want in life, right? Your mindset and being just overall positive person affects those things for sure. So thanks for coming on and hanging out with us, Dave.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on. It was great meeting you all. I hope everybody goes out and has a fantastic week, and be kind to one another.
Yes, absolutely. So you guys, with that being said, we hope that you all have a great rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week. And until next week, all of us are back, you guys. So until then, bye for now, everybody.